What's good, my boy? In the wood shop again, cleaning some shit up, getting it organized, trying to make some progress towards this idea that I've had to start working in here in production and all sorts of things relating to that. And while I'm doing this, I've been occasionally listening to a couple podcasts and things, some from this guy named Luke Belmar, who I know some people probably view him as a little distasteful because of the way he talks about money and shit like that. And the other one is like this guy, Sam Ovens. I've been watching a lot of his older videos from like 6-7 years ago. And there's a lot of wisdom in these videos. If you can take certain things, if you can watch this like kind of like self-improvement advice with a base set of like beliefs and standings and things like that, where you're not going to be like motivated to change everything you're doing and be just like these people, and instead just kind of like take little bits from them and instill it into your philosophies and instill it into the way you move, there is great merit in fucking being inspired by these people who have achieved certain things that some people would perceive as impossible. Okay? And mainly on this Sam Ovens thing, I was watching this video about 30 minutes ago where he was talking about the self and how you can truly be any fucking thing. And people, where they feel like they'll say things, as an example, they'll be like, oh, I'm an introverted person, or I'm this person, and I like these things, and I do these things, and you set these like boundaries for yourself where there's no room to swing the pendulum and kind of customize it. And he was saying things that I really related to, which was how he went from working in this office making like 40 grand a year, and one experience with like really wealthy people changed the way he perceived things. And now, he also said a lot in that video, which I liked, was he wasn't really like grandstanding and making these like fucking points of like absolutes. Like he was saying pretty much like you have to do things for you and that you truly would want to do. Like if you're fucking have no purpose, no meaning, and you're not doing anything, and you're at this like blank slate where anything is possible, right? It's cool if your ideal of like a goal in the future is to be able to go on a beach and surf all fucking day, or make music all day, or be an entrepreneur, business person, and work in these offices and make millions of dollars. Like all these different paths are really cool, and you should choose the one uniquely that suits you. And the fact that you can literally customize yourself to do any of these things. And I'll use myself as a bit of an example. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I had zero goals. Now, what I was doing at the time, I talk about and I mention them almost in a negative connotation. Like I'll give my daily layout, which was before I go to school, I take a bunch of dabs out of my dab rig, and then come home and smoke a bunch of weed and then play a bunch of video games all fucking day and barely pass school just because I didn't give a fuck about literally anything. I was just in like this like blur, this just trying to feel good in any means possible without any discipline or any direction. And now I'll make one countering point. There are great, cool fucking things that have happened in the space of video games. Like I watched listen to this podcast with FaZe Banks, and it was really interesting listening to him talk about like FaZe and how the community was built, and like how it's like a ingrained part of this internet culture. And it's true, like this internet shit and all the stuff that goes along with it is like an ingrained part of the fucking of our like history as human beings. And it is like a beautiful, interesting other side, 50% half of life that happens in this like almost underground space. And that's all cool. As well as like, it's like some of the self-improvement people like completely shit on like weed and like that type of stuff, which personally I opt to not partake in alcohol or that, because it's just, I'm in a point in my life right now where I have certain goals, and the way that reacts with my body, it doesn't align. Like, it saps my motivation and makes everything I want to do a little bit harder. And some people, they're the opposite, and that's fucking cool. But without me trying to explain myself and make all these different points, him talking about like customizing this character, like, I never really thought, I had no perception. Like, if you would have asked me what I want to be when I grow up, it would literally be like an existential crisis, because I wouldn't fucking know. I wouldn't have an answer for you. I wouldn't have anything. And now, having like, I have goals for like 2 years in the future, for 5 years in the future, for 10 years in the future. Whether or not they come to fruition, that's irrelevant. I have actual meaning in my life. Like, I read this book a while back, like 6 or 7 months ago, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And while I don't remember the whole book, the main point in the book kind of teeters on like the whole Nietzsche quote of, he who has any why can bear any how. Meaning that as long as you have a fucking reason, the way you get there is irrelevant. Like, say I want to build a certain type of a body, or I want to get healthy without all the fucking physical thing. Let's just say I want to get healthy. It's going to be hard. I got to instill a certain level of diet and gain knowledge in certain nutrition. And I got to start doing certain habits where I got to get physical exercise. And if you've never done that, it's extremely uncomfortable. But if you super bear in and you super like focus on the why, the reason, then the work in between becomes irrelevant. The how becomes fucking irrelevant. And going back to like my goals now, I'm in this wood shop, big ass wood shop, which I've bought zero equipment, maybe some fucking tape measures, a couple $100 worth of shit. And whenever I got down here, I neglected this space. I live with my grandpa on 50 acres. I neglected this space for like 6 months. I went to work as a contractor, and I was building this skill set. And I walked in here. You can go back and watch my video on my channel called The Grind Part 1. And I documented this space I was living in, which literally looked like a fucking episode of The Hoarders. And while by no means is it perfect, I've literally cleared areas in here where I can fucking work. And my grandpa, I've brought meaning to his life because I've created this thing and explained to him that I want to try to create a legacy for him and build this beautiful fucking business and do things we love to do, which is craft and working with our hands and tools and all these little beautiful things. And he who has any why can bear any fucking how. The book Viktor Frankl illustrated the point that he was literally in an internment camp for Jews. They were dying of starvation, dying of disease, dying of being executed. And he noticed he was a psychologist before the Holocaust, and he noticed the difference between the ones who survived and the ones who were strong enough to thrive after this disaster who did survive, because a lot of them didn't even have the option to. But the main number one fucking causation was meaning. Finding ways to create meaning. Now you would say, how the fuck do you create meaning when you're in these prisons and shit like that, or like incarcerated or not being able to do anything? And it's just like small little things. It's like some Jordan Peterson, clean your fucking room, start from ground zero. Give yourself a small little task, and eventually that blossoms. Like for me, I came up here and I'd already instilled a lot of habits. I've only lived here for about a year-ish. Last February to this February would be a year. And what sparked my motivation was I wanted to work out, but I had zero money, but we had some 2x4s. So the first thing I built was this big power rack that I could work out in. And my uncle, this was his cabinet shop, he built cabinets in, had an old rusted weight bench. and some 45s, and I took it and I built it into a fucking gym now where I got deadlift platforms, I got a pulley system, I got a little bike to do cardio. I scrounged all these things used, and I found ways to where I didn't need money, and I made it work because I had a goal. And looking back, I don't even remember motivation really true. I mean, of course, I have moments or not really like I just feel like giving up and I'm depressed, because I rarely have instances of that. But it's like, oh, I don't really feel like doing much today. I just feel like chilling. But for some reason, because this drive that I have is so intense, like a lot of my drive comes from me and my grandpa are best friends. I love him with all my heart. And we've been best friends since I was a little kid. I remember living like 3 hours away. I'd call him every single day whenever I was younger. I would come up here every summer and spend the whole summer with him and my grandma when she was still alive, and just create these beautiful memories. And I have another set of grandparents which I love equally, but I don't get to spend the time with them that I do here. But I have this like drive and motivation to achieve my goals, which some of them are to be financially free as well as to build wealth for my family and allow us, like, I feel driven by this time, okay? To be realistic, my best friends and the people who inspire me the most and I respect the most are all older, okay? And if you're being realistic, I don't like to talk about it, but to be a little vulnerable and be realistic, that's always creeping on my mind, that time is of the essence with them. I have to spend, some of them are in their 70s. My other grandparents are in their 60s. I only have so much time if we're being realistic about the way life works. Life and death, as morbid as it is, I only have so much time. So I'm consistently driven by wanting to create this life that I have envisioned for myself with these people. Right now, I could I could probably do some crypto shit or some e-commerce shit and do that and be able to be with them. But if I think even more future proof, after if anything ever happened to them, I'd want to create a life that I would still be wanting to live and doing things that I enjoyed. Like, I like making these videos. I like building things. So I'm trying to create my goals and my ideas all around things that I enjoy. And it's really hard to explain and tie it all together off the cuff in a video like this. I hope I've illustrated it clearly. But back to the Sam Ovens video. If y'all haven't watched that, go watch. Let me try to, I don't know if I can exit out of this watch recording on my phone, but I'm trying to think of the title of the video. It's just super interesting the way he was talking about it as self. He was talking about the self and how you can mold it so easily. And it's really true. Like, you can truly, if you have a why, you can truly create so many goals. One strife that I've dealt with recently is I have a really good buddy who I work with in construction. And he often mentions to me that he lacks the motivation. And it's so easy for me to illustrate these ideas over these videos and possibly inspire people online that are not hitting me with these real world contradictions to what I'm saying. And whenever he tells me these things of like, I lack meaning, or even joking about suicide, which I don't believe he would ever do, but I don't know, because the mind is wild the way it works. And I truly really like this dude. Like, he's one of my really good friends. And it's so difficult. I'm not a fucking psychologist. I don't know how to work around. I sometimes don't know what to say to him whenever he hits me with these like fucking outlandish, wild things that he says that I've thought in the past myself and am so detached from at this point where I can't really relate to it. So I end up just regurgitating some fucking cliche-ass, trite guru speak to him. And it usually doesn't work. But I don't know, man. I really just, shit is looking so, my view on things are just so optimistic right now. And I just feel so purposeful. And I didn't have any of that 4 years ago. I don't have a fraction of what my goals consist of yet. But the mental state that I have created for myself, whether it be diluted or not, is literally one of those goals. Like, I always wanted to be able to just consistently work on something without fail or without long periods of like depression and whatnot. And I finally have achieved that level of ambition that I seeked. And now all that is left in my way is to put the work in towards the things like the business. Like right now I'm building this website. I'm trying to get this shop in order so I can start building things to post on the website. I've over the past 6 months saved up enough money where I can take time off of my job as a contractor and pursue these things. And it's all starting to align. And I don't know if it would interfere with the goals by like putting them out there like this and just talking about it. But I truly feel like this might help somebody out there who's dealing with this, that you can really mold this shit, bro. I love that Steve Jobs video, that old Steve Jobs video where he's just like, once you realize that the world was made up by people no smarter than you, and you can really poke it, you can really change it, you can really mold it, you're changed forever. And that's the way I felt for at least like a year now. I've had ups and downs, of course, but I've truly never had a period of consistency quite like this. And I wouldn't even want to hang out with my past self because I don't even think I could relate to him. I don't even remember the way I used to think about things. And again, it might be a form of like delusion, but it doesn't matter. I got my own goals, I got my own beliefs, and I don't judge nobody no more. I don't care if someone does want to go, like, if you watch my older videos, I was kind of halfway in this line of thinking, but it was so fragile that I had to talk in like absolutes and had to talk in like, this is the only way. And it's like, nah, bro, there's a million fucking ways that you can do things. There's a million different paths. There's a million different right ways. It's like, for a while, I was really big into conspiracies and like, not really a flat earther, but I was like, I was fascinated by this like anti-science, like rebellious type shit. And at one point, I remember I was reading all these books and all this esoteric stuff. I was like, man, this shit is so interesting. And I started getting in this absolutist mindset. And thinking back and looking at it from like a kind of open-minded perspective, it's like, it just really comes down to like whatever the fuck you believe. And that was one of the points that like Sam Ovens guy really put into perspective for me, that I've been thinking this way for a while, but I didn't know how to put it into words. But it's like, there is no right way. It's like, we have groundbreaking proof for all different ways of living. And whenever you take advice in absolutes, it's just what worked for that person in ways of them thinking and ways of them doing things and things they've accomplished. It's all just their own way that's worked for them. And for you to adopt a whole entire piece like that, instead of, like I said, gathering different things and attribute and putting them into yourself and just latching onto one specific person in one specific way, it's just, you got to be your own man's, my boy. You got to figure this shit out on your own. It is good and very, very good to take perspective from other people. Like if you're watching this video right now, I'd hope you disagree with me at least a little bit or find something I said funny, because it would just reinforce that you are being your own fucking man. You're figuring this shit out and forming these opinions on your own. And then also, if I say things that you find related or you relate to or you find cool, equal. Balance, my boy. Yin and yang. I'm going to get back to work organizing this shit. I just figured I'd take a quick little break and make this video. Chase paper, enjoy our nature, and have a good one.